Neurotransmitters are chemicals that are released by certain populations of neurons, which let us organize our own emotional and behavioral responses to the world. These neuromodulators are very powerful and have been the basis for a lot of different psychiatric treatments, but there's a lot that we don't know about how they more precisely work. What is the code in our brain that gives rise to emotions, especially emotions like anxiety? To do that, we kind of build off the fact that we actually know a lot more about how the brain processes positive emotions than we do about how it processes negative emotions. And there are a bunch of these different neuromodulators. The most famous is dopamine. So in one of our studies, we were interested in trying to understand whether norepinephrine, which is another neuromodulator which has been really historically linked to fight and flight responses, and whether that might be giving a signal for learning about negative things in the world. We've really honed in on the circuit that's a small brain region in the brainstem that sends a huge amount of norepinephrine to the rest of the brain. We want to record the outputs of neurons in the brain using the most rigorous means that we have. We use a lot of different optical tools. These are different kinds of sensors which will emit light when something happens in the brain that you want to see. And using those kind of tools, we could look at individual cell types and see what kind of information they may be receiving from these different neuromodulators. We also use electrophysiology to do really large-scale recordings of brain activity. We're really interested in trying to see whether those tools can give us a deeper insight into how these neuromodulators alter our emotional processing. In addition to being a systems neuroscientist, I'm also a psychiatrist. In that role, I'm really motivated to try to understand our disorders and try to treat these disorders better. And in many cases for psychiatric diseases, we don't really have sufficient treatments for the patients that we treat. Especially in PTSD, for example. Serotonin is the main neuromodulator used in antidepressant treatments. And there are many drugs which are in the pipeline now, a lot of interest in more targeted serotonin treatments, like psychedelic drugs, for example. We think that by understanding these more precise mechanisms of how a memory is formed, we can harness that to develop a better treatment in the future.